little bit about my past. I am from Alaska. I grew up in a very strange, nomadic, commercial fishing lifestyle with my family. I traveled throughout all of Alaska, the Bering Sea, up near the tip outside of Russia, down to the straits of down next to Seattle, and grew up in a very primitive kind of He-Man kind of culture. Right?
That's why all the women want the Alaskan men, right?
Well, there's lots to that. That's another time we'll talk about that. Okay, so growing up in this strange culture, I felt very out of place. Like extremely like I didn't belong here. You know, I always yearned for more. And not only the fact that I was yearning for more in my life, but what I did really went against my maternal instincts of, you know, caring for this planet. You know, I was out killing these animals and feeding people. Of course, that's a good thing, but still, the dirty work wasn't for me. Anyways, I traveled around with my folks for about 20 years, doing this extensive commercial fishing, traveling throughout the lands, and teaching fishermen how to fish without hurting the planet so much. And it got so frustrating that I was like, that's it, I'm giving this up. And during this entire time that I was out in these waters, these pristine waters, places and times where I couldn't even see land, and you know, naturally I was an artist, you know, so I always had an outlet. I always had to have something to get some of this creativity out into the physical world when I was out doing these adventures. So what I did is I started making these little pieces of jewelry, just little pieces of wire, things I found on the boat. One winter we were building a fleet of herring skiffs for a company, and all the welding wire got ruined. So I had mountains of wire to play with. I started building these giant dinosaurs and giraffes, and I come back from school one day, because I was still very young. I come back from school one day, and my mother goes, you know what, Raymond, I need 20 more of those little giraffes. I'm like, why do you want little giraffe people? Well, she was taking my creations and selling them to local art galleries up in Alaska, so I was like, wow, that's very interesting. So, as I continued to practice my craft, as I got tired of the commercial fishing life, and of course after 9/11, everybody knows a lot of businesses took a dive for the worst. So we kind of decided we wanted to get out of that business, and I pursued one of my biggest passions was making jewelry, making these little creations. So what I started doing is I started traveling down to Arizona, and I started going to these rocks and gem and mineral shows. Who's been to Tucson here? Everybody knows the rock shows down in Tucson. They vendors from all over the world. Every rock and mineral that you could possibly imagine is down there. And it's just such an eye-opening experience to understand that all these wonderful creations come out of the earth. And immediately I started connecting with them. I just felt them. They just felt alive to me. And so I started implementing them as well into my wire creations. And that grew as a passion of mine. And eventually I was traveling around the West Coast, selling my stuff to art galleries, you know, really kind of developing what I wanted to do. And I landed here in Sedona about 5 years ago. A business partner of mine gave me a steady place to work, and I just started creating nonstop. And so in the experience of me learning how to excel in my craft, I started to implement not only the rocks, the stones, and then I started implementing another aspect to it, a healing, a third entity into these pieces of jewelry. So they're not just pretty rocks and metal wound up to look nice. They actually have a life to it. They have a spirit built into them. I use a lot of symbology. And symbology is very, very important. I mean, what's one of the most symbolic symbols that I'm sure everybody here knows? The cross, that's right. that little symbol is so powerful. So I started developing my own symbols. Symbols that I was getting these downloads, saying, oh, you know what, let's do this. And mixing them with symbols that are already available, already out into the market, and into consciousness. And so I started implementing all these sacred geometry into these pieces. And I didn't even know at the time what I was creating.
When you spent so much time out on the water, in the land, I mean, really you're surrounded, the stars, everything was just probably impacting you in a way that just, this is the fruition of it, this is how it evolved. I think that your childhood and the way that you lived your early life really has so much to do with the way that your jewelry is presented.
Sure. Absolutely. If I didn't
I mean, the wrapping is amazing. Is that from like fishing, from...
A lot of it has to do with, my experiences in life.
Yeah.
And how, I honestly don't even remember how I created a lot of this stuff. It was just,
Are you in the zone?
To me. Exactly. They call it the zone, right? I was in the zone. But from there, I start to develop it and make it more of a tangible thing. And I like to share that with people so much. And so jewelry is such a passion of mine now.
Is there, I thought I heard that there's someone who's creating a movie, and they have one of your pieces, or they have the key character is going to be wearing. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, Sedona, the movie, everybody's heard about that. It's going on in town. The main character's wearing a piece that I made for her. Really simple. It's a beautiful little diamond set in this little flower that just kind of wraps around. It's very, very simple. And I felt very honored that they came to me because the piece itself is supposed to symbolize change. And it's a piece of the lotus flower, which in a lot of cultures represents the changing seasons. Of course, it's a flower. So yeah, I was very blessed to be a part of that project. Even in the little bit I was involved.
See the necklace? I don't even want to call it a necklace because it's so much more than that. And there's like a shamanic feel to it too. Do you want to explain what that is for you?
When I sit down and I create pieces for people, I bring their energy into it. Let's say you want something custom made and you want it to represent a certain amount of what you're trying to create. Let's say you want to express your artistic side. I take that and I go, okay, well, these stones will help in that development, but then let's add on to it. Let's make it real. Let's make it yours. So I drag that out of people. It's kind of like you have to be like a mind reader to get what they want and what they're desiring and make it into a tangible, physical object that they can relate to, which is really a piece of them, and I just help manifest it.
Does anyone have questions for Ray?
So do you sell your jewelry in places?
Yeah, I have a variety of different art galleries. You can find my stuff in. You can find my stuff in Visions Gallery, the Crystal Vortex, My Jeweler in the Bastrop Shopping Center. I have a shop in the back of that plaza. That's one of my business partners. I do a lot of freelance stuff as well. I can come to your home. You can design stuff out.
Can you talk about the technology a little bit?
I love it.
And not only do I make these wonderful, beautiful pieces of jewelry, but there's actually a physical technology that they're all infused with. It's a combination of different vibrations, holy sounds, and different earth energies that are actually put into this great big machine that I concocted, and made and fabricated. And each piece is actually bombarded, and all its molecules are filled with just healing energies. So not only is there a shamanic value, but there's actually physical energy they've been infused with.
This machine, is it like a radionics kind of concept?
It's along those lines. I went to Stanford and studied quantum physics and quantum mechanics, so I implemented that passion into this as well. So it's really, I keep it tight-lipped, but it's right along those lines.
Thank you so much, Ray. I love your piece of jewelry.